Hello and welcome, friends, family, newcomers to the good place. I'm your host, Kim Tisor. This week, we're taking the show to the movie theater. Okay, not really. This is obviously a virtual background, but I thought it looked pretty cool, so I thought I would incorporate it. And speaking of virtual backdrops, by the way, the house that I typically use is not really my house. It is a virtual backdrop. I just wanted to mention that to be transparent because I had someone last week reach out to me on social media and say, Kim, I really love your house. And I had to say, that's not really my house. I wish it were, but no, it is not. I am working on a set that would be real, so my hair wouldn't get cut off weird and my fingers wouldn't disappear. Maybe that will be unveiled next week. Stay tuned and find out. My son is actually going to work on it tomorrow since he just finished school today. Okay, enough of that. Well, actually, speaking of school, at the end, I plan on putting some pictures of my daughter's recent graduation since I said in the last video I would do that. So I have a few pictures that she approved of that I will add. Okay, on to the movie review, which I haven't done one since high school for our newspaper when I had to write about Dirty Dancing. Probably wasn't the best review. I wasn't a very good writer. Still, I'm probably not that great. But anyway, there you go. Jesus Thirsts, the miracle of the Eucharist. Do I recommend this? Well, you have an inkling of an idea. If you saw the last video, I gave you a little preview of my thoughts when I shared that I did not fall asleep during the film. And for me, that's a big clue as to what I think of a movie because I tend to fall asleep. If it is not super engaging, I am out like a light. As a matter of fact, about 20 years ago or so, my husband and I went to the movie theater to watch Lord of the Rings, which, if you don't know, that movie is about 3 hours. And I know people love that movie and they've watched it over and over and over again. Well, I fell asleep during it and ended up spending 3 months in a chiropractor's office because I had to crick my neck because of the way I fell asleep in the chair. So you don't want to go to the movie theater feeling sleepy. It's like, don't go to the grocery store when you're hungry, okay? You're just asking for trouble. So I went with some friends, met some friends from church to see this film. And I will say it was very well done, professionally done. This is more of a documentary, okay? There are some major key players that you're probably familiar with. Dr. Scott Hahn, Chris Stefanik, who I just adore. I think he is so gracious during interviews, if you've ever seen him interview anyone. Father Calloway, is it John Calloway? Oh, goodness, I've forgotten his name. But lots of names that you would recognize. Now, before I go any further, I just want to say very quickly for my Protestant friends, first off, thank you if you've hung around this long, because I was raised Southern Baptist for about 40 years, and I didn't know what the Eucharist was. And so you might be watching and have no idea what that is, because I will tell you, most of my followers on this channel are not Catholic, or well, I don't know exactly how many. And I want you to know if you ever come to this channel in the future, you're never going to hear me bash my other Christian brothers and sisters, whether they're Southern Baptist, Methodist, Lutheran, what have you. Because first and foremost, I'm so thankful for the upbringing I had in the Baptist church where scripture was emphasized, a love for Jesus and a love for others, fellowship. There were a lot of good things to being raised in the church that I was reared in. And so I'm thankful for that. So you're not going to ever hear me talk negatively. And I try as much as possible to share things during the show if I touch on something faith related that will appeal to both my Catholic friends and Protestant friends. But every now and then I talk about something that's Catholic, but I try to educate in the process so you know what I'm talking about. So the Holy Eucharist is the blessed sacrament that we receive every time we attend Mass. So when the priest consecrates the host and the wine, Catholics believe that those things turn into Jesus. They're transformed and they are truly Jesus's flesh and blood, that he's fully present in the blessed sacrament, body, blood, soul, and divinity. And so for those who take it as just being symbolic, that, it just represents Jesus, we do not believe that. I say we don't believe. The Catholic Church teaches that it is truly Jesus present in Holy Communion. Now, the problem is, even though the church teaches it, only about a third of Catholics believe it. That's according to a 2019 Pew Research poll. Now, in 2023, another poll was conducted, and that indicated that about 2/3 of Catholics actually believed it. And I hope that's the case. Maybe that is the case because of the fact in 2019, when it was discovered that so few Catholics actually believe in that teaching, there was an emphasis, a push from the USCCB, the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops, to have parishes teach more on the Eucharist. There was this revival, if you will, and that's really what prompted the making of this documentary. And you're also going to see when you go, if you see this film, which I haven't found out yet where it's going to play now, I have to imagine it's going to end up either on Netflix or Formed, which is a Catholic media platform, or some other platform out there. It's going to end up someplace else because it was only in the theater for 3 days. So I'm sure they didn't make it just for it to, go away now. So you will, I think, have an opportunity to see this in the future, and I hope you will see it. Tim Wahlberg, the brother of the famous Hollywood actor Mark Wahlberg, is seen in here ministering to prisoners. So what this film does is it teaches you what the Eucharist is. It shows you how people around the world have a devotion to the Eucharist, have a deep love for it, and understanding. It also, and I appreciated this again from my Baptist upbringing, but I'm sure Catholics would appreciate this too, and that is it shows scriptural references to the Eucharist, how it is in the Bible, even though I never saw it when I was younger, but now I see it. And what's really amazing is if you do a study on this, you start realizing how bread, the significance of it, is all throughout the Bible. Whether you're talking about the manna, the heavenly bread that came down from heaven to sustain the Israelites as they were wandering through the desert, whether you're talking about the town where Jesus was born, Bethlehem, what does that mean? It literally is translated city of bread, and he was to become the bread of life. And then there are certainly other passages, like on the road to Emmaus. I'm not going to go into all of this because it does spell it out in the movie, and you can read about it. And, I don't want to give any spoilers. Now, certainly the film is not perfect. Everyone's going to have their own personal takeaway, but I really align with my friend Ellen's thinking with her small criticism that she shared regarding the film. I want you to take a listen.
I would have liked to have seen more scientific evidence of the presence, because I think that's what the secular culture is looking for. They want proof. That's what's going to make people, or made me, a true believer that Jesus is present in the Holy Eucharist.
What's so really funny about this to me is before I went to the movies, a coworker of mine who knew I was going and who's a very devout Catholic, he said, "You're going to have to tell me if they show a lot of stories about the host turning into flesh and blood coagulating." He said, "I don't like that stuff, just too sensational." And he would not appreciate that. So probably for him, this would be great that there wasn't a lot of scientific evidence. But like Ellen, I would have liked to have seen more of that. But there were certainly a lot of positive comments. So I want you to hear what Renee and Teresa had to say.
I thought it was an excellent film. I enjoyed the cinematography, the music. It touched on a lot of questions. When it started out with interviewing people who weren't believers and the reasons why, it made me laugh in some ways, but also sad, because that's the reality, is that the secular world does not believe in the true presence of Jesus, and that is just a symbol. And I thought the movie did a good job in uniting our beliefs that it is more than that.
I thought it was very, very moving, and it kept you engrossed and inspired about the different stories all the way back from even before the Bible, and how Jesus was present then, and he continues to show signs throughout all these years, the signs of Jesus' presence in the Eucharist. It was very moving.
We went all over the world in this movie, from Uganda to Thailand to America to a lot in the Latin American countries. And it was just really awesome to see on the flip side, the belief that people have.
You know, and it can be a difficult teaching to wrap your brain around, especially if you've never been exposed to it. It was even difficult for Teresa at one time.
As I was growing up, I didn't realize I wasn't listening. I went to Catholic school for some of my years, and I just kind of took it for granted. And it wasn't until I really started to learn more about the Bible and grow in my faith that I really appreciated and really felt the presence of Jesus Christ in the Eucharist.
Now, back to what Ellen was saying, wanting to see more scientific evidence. I realize we are to walk by faith, not by sight. But at the same time, Jesus said he would never leave us or forsake us. And I believe one way he remains with us in a very tangible way is through the Holy Eucharist. And for that, I'm so eternally grateful. And if you would like to know more about Eucharistic miracles, I'm going to include a link to a website actually in the notes section. This is the website that Blessed Carlo Acutis set up when he was just a teenage boy, documenting miracles from around the world. I would read it out loud to you, but I think it's in Italian, and I would probably not pronounce it correctly. So anyway, I'll have that link in there. I hope you will check it out. Thank you so much for tuning in to The Good Place. I hope you heard something good, and would love to hear from you. If you've seen the movie yourself, please let us know what you thought about it in the comments section. Do you agree with the thoughts that were shared here? What would you add? How do you think differently about this film? Did it inspire you? Give us your thoughts. Again, thank you for watching, and I hope you will tune in next time to The Good Place. Bye.